Well, so we have in the studio Philip Langdon. He's a member of the MPP, and thanks for joining us this morning, sir. Okay, and we have to start with the daily graphic and the other stories we have. And we're being told that we have still 9 more arrested in connection with the cocaine smuggled into the United Kingdom by one Nayeli Ametepe, Ruby Terrier, Irene Terrier, Ruby Jemfi, Ruby Apia. Depends on the name and aliases you want to describe her or associate with her. And now 9 more people have been arrested in connection with that, and they include 2 ladies said to have traveled with the lady Nayeli Ametepe, who was arrested with the drugs at the Heathrow Airport, and they are Ikuya Amponsa and Sadalia Sandra Nuhu. And also arrested in connection are others, Papa Kwesi Akwa, Sandra's boyfriend, Mustafa Kilba, a cousin of Ikuya Amponsa, and Faisal Kadir, an American. The rest are Abdullah Mustra, Mau Jafar, and Shabir Nasi, all Lebanese, and Marioto Bernard Young, an Indian. And the arrest of the 9 is part of the clampdown on drug trafficking by the security agencies in Ghana. Okay? And the arrest brings to 12 the number of people arrested in connection with the case. All right. So those are the issues, but a lot more is being revealed, especially when we know that the foreign minister also has been giving an interview to an Accra-based radio station, Radio Gold, and saying a number of things as to what Ruby or Nayela said when she was visited by consular officials of Ghana in the United Kingdom. And so, what's your own response? This whole saga, it's almost been over a week and a half, I think, on the subject.
Yes. Well, good morning to our viewers.
Morning.
I think it's very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, because you know, the last time I was saying, I think when these things broke, we're here to discuss it, and I was saying we should not politicize it. And it's very important that matters like this we don't politicize. So far, it is not taking any political direction. There have been various things that have happened, but I think we should try and keep it that way, the way you're also handling it. I think we should all journalists, all commentators, everybody. And to reiterate the point that Mr. Kujum Pianim also made yesterday, that if we are to tackle this problem, we shouldn't go political. This case is going to have major consequences for us as a country. Major. Now, the facts available so far are so indicting on us. This lady went through airport privileges reserved for certain categories of persons. That is what she did. Something that she clearly did not deserve. Got on board a flight. Now, we are being told that this package was handed over to her as part of current international travel protocol. There's supposed to be very little contact between passengers and other airport staff. So you'll find that with all modern airports, the whole idea is to ensure that when passengers go through the security checks, they don't come into contact with anybody else until they get into the aircraft. You see, you go through tunnels, you go through all kinds of things to make sure that there's no contact with anybody else until you are in the aircraft. And nobody else has access to the aircraft except for certain specific persons, because of security, number 1, hygiene, number 2. I mean, there are so many considerations. One contaminated product into a pressurized aircraft, everybody's in trouble.
And especially when in West Africa we have Ebola and things like that. Talks about the way security and procedures are. So that's why you say it has a lot of implications.
A lot of implications. When this shoe bomber, you remember some years ago? The Nigerian boy managed to hide some shoe, you know, was it? I think it was underwear bomber. I can't remember.
He slapped it on his ties.
Yes.
Tried to ignite it and it was not possible.
Yeah. You see, so all these things are there. And the moment that this happens, the whole world community panics, because if anything happens on aircraft, look at the number of people, the number of nationalities, you know. So the implications of these things are very massive. So for our foreign minister of all persons to come and say some of the things that we are hearing, she said, on radio is most unfortunate. Foreign minister.
Meaning what? You mean that she doesn't take her job seriously?
I don't know whether this is somebody who is a lawyer by profession, and I thought that, and she's been foreign minister for a while now. So comments are major, you know. You should appreciate how serious certain comments are. And yes, it is true that this is what the lady is apparently supposed to have said to the UK authorities when they were interviewing her. But it's not for the foreign minister to come and repeat those comments out there. It's not. It's bad enough for you and I, okay? But not our Minister for Foreign Affairs on a radio station. Anyway.
I guess you wanted to clarify things.
Well, as a topmost diplomat of our country,
clarity is always important.
Clarity, my brother, clarity, we all have different styles of clarity, of clarifying this newspaper. But that is why one person is Minister for Foreign Affairs, somebody else is whatever, and somebody else is something else. Everybody, there should be a difference, and that must be clearly appreciated. That's why I'm saying that I find it unfortunate that she made that presentation. Now, everybody's going to be worried that this woman was able to pass through where she passed through. This package was handed over to her on the aircraft. Our security was so lax that somebody could actually get that package close enough to an aircraft. A package of that size and weight, close enough in an aircraft, and get it on board. You know, so it's a very unfortunate thing. It's a very unfortunate thing. This drug war is something, it's a worldwide phenomenon. And every country is struggling with it. People hide under all kinds of banners of politics, of sports, of even religious bodies, all kinds of traditional things to try and pass through these things, exchange programs, etc. It's a worldwide problem. So when it happens, let us deal with it as a crime. This is a crime that has been perpetrated. The person involved might have linkages with the ruling government, the ruling party, or whatever. Let's deal with it and deal with the individuals. This is a very bad case. My information is that the New Patriotic Party is going to have a press conference this morning.
You know, the minority in Parliament.
The minority.
The MPP minority in Parliament.
Yes, MPP minority in Parliament. It's going to have a press conference because there's some other information they have that they're going to put out there. So we'll just wait to hear that one.
It's not politicizing the issue enough. Yesterday, a deputy minority leader of Parliament was taking samples of rice in bags just to give an indication of how weighty the substance that would have been smuggled or had been smuggled to the UK would look like. And of course, if you look at how bulky the substance is, it would be difficult and unimaginable for it to have gone through the normal procedures without being noticed.
Yeah.
So that was just an indication for it. That's politicization.
Well,
almost like equalizing.
Well, my good friend, the Honorable Dominic, needs to apologize to Mr. Speaker.
But he made his point. He's supposed to make his point, so he made his point.
He made his point, but he apologized. If you listen to what he said in his apology, I think it covers it. If he had come to this studio and demonstrated those bags of rice, I think it would have been better, as a way of emphasizing his point, rather than on the floor of the House.
He made a bigger point than he would have made on TV.
You see, I agree, but look, he made a bigger point, but this is the floor of Parliament. The consequences on us as a country too, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not going to go into that. He's in my party, I want to, give him some cover. But what I'm saying is that I would have preferred that he would have done that here. The audience would have been the same cameras would have broadcast it to everybody else, and I think the effect would have been, but on the floor of the House, that's another matter. So that's all I'll say on that one. I think that this is a very bad case, and it doesn't help at all.
What does he say? What do we do about security at our airports? Because we're told, I remember in a UN report in 2012, it is stated, and just on narcotics, that because the West African coast has become very pervasive for the transportation illegally of such narcotics, the judiciary, the police, and other political figures, etc., are also at risk of being influenced, directly or indirectly, by drug barons and cartels in the Americas, etc.
Yeah, that is true.
So it's nobody's fault?
Oh, no, it's not like nobody's fault. All over in the advanced countries. I mean, in America, there are cases where drug enforcement agency officers had been compromised, for one reason or the other. Because these people have access to money, liquid money, the cash, they show it, like we know, worldwide.
They show it and then your adrenaline is all pumping.
Then you remember some monies you owe, etc. Then the temptation is there. So it is a real problem, not for Ghana. That is our Ghana judiciary, our Ghana. No, it is a problem worldwide, even in the advanced countries. And it's something that has to be worked on and tackled constantly. Tackled constantly. Otherwise, it becomes a problem for all of us. This is a crime that has been committed. The security and talking about security at the airports is an ongoing thing, because once you put security measures to stop an action or activity, know that those who want to do it will also be finding other ways. So you must be constantly upgrading your security, finding new measures, finding new ways, improving your methods, etc. So. Okay. This is
we have on the line Fred Agbenyu, and he's a member of the NDC's communication team. Now, particularly for the Minister of Foreign Affairs to be publicly saying that during interaction with the lady in question in the United Kingdom and all the things that she may have said, that also tend to speak volumes about how lax our security was or is at the airport. Hello?
Hello, Walker.
Yes, sir. So to have the foreign minister come or even speak to the media about, well, the interaction they had with the lady Nayeli Ametepe in the United Kingdom, where she's being remanded currently, that also speaks volumes about the lax security we have at our international airports.
Well, Walker, thank you very much, and let me say good morning to the cherry viewers. I think that all of us agree that largely the kind of security that we have at our airport is not the best. We can do better than what we have today. But that is not able to say that it's such a porous situation where everybody can just walk through. All over the world, even in Heathrow Airport where this lady was arrested, there are instances where people have gone through that airport with narcotic drugs and they were not able to arrest them. So we cannot take the modus operandi of these people for granted. They are also very crafty. They connive with all manner of people in their operations. And so sometimes they are able to outwit, the security arrangements that are put in place at a various entry points. So that, based on that, we cannot just conclude that the threat of security people really were not vigilant, to the extent that they are human beings who are working over there, who can easily be engaged in financial, whatever it is, they can easily compromise and allow themselves to be used. Because this particular instance, we are told the lady was even in the plate, but somebody took the back. So if that was the case, the lady could have gone through the security arrangements, could have gone through all the machines and the scanners and everything, and nothing will be found on her. So we need to look at the issue quite closely. But sometimes it's difficult to say this publicly, especially on air, but we have to say, don't forget we live in Africa. We have heard several stories about how people take some of these things through the airport. They come to the airport and you check their luggage, and truly you are seeing other tomatoes, or you are seeing fish, dry fish, or you are seeing something else. They get to another spot, and the item becomes something else.
Fred, we all know that following the terrorist attacks on the United States of America and the revision of various security measures around the world, there are certain now liquid or soluble items that are not taken through the airport. So don't even start the subject of what is taken through the airport, which internationally is not agreed upon or has been banned across the world. Now, for the lady to have passed through an entry point and giving special privileges, let's say VIP or VVIP, whatever it is, it shows that it should be a complicit compromise by a top official.
Well, largely I agree with you, like I said from the very beginning.
So why is it that we're not naming any top official and saying you should be you should have given an indication to whoever is supposed to travel to through the VVIP or VIP and name top officials who may have been very much complicit in this very subject?
Well, it depends on how we are looking at this whole thing. This is not the first time people are going to the VVIP. People, we can conclude that they are not supposed to go through the VVIP, and yet they have all the means to go to VVIP. You remember that Professor Mills' scanners were put over there To the extent that even he himself, as the president of the republic, anytime he was traveling, he had to go to the scanners, he was trained, he was dead, and all that. As we speak now, I'm not too sure how the lady got access to VVIP. Even if she even passed there, I'm not too sure. If she passed there, I'm not too sure if she was screened or she was not screened or whatever it is. But like I'm saying, cannot discount the operations of this person. They don't work alone. And the team, there are other people they are working with. We are told this morning that about 9 other accomplices have been arrested in connection with this particular issue. So, to the extent that we are able to arrest them, we are able to interrogate them and get to know how they operate. And with time, we are able to put the necessary mechanisms in place to avert that from happening in future. You know, and it's really...
Fred, how difficult would it be for, let's say, the foreign ministry or, let's say, protocol department, etc., to find out who may have given an indication to officials at the airport for the lady to travel? Because we've all gone through some level of privilege traveling, either because we follow official dom, etc. So sometimes, if you make such commentary, it makes mockery of what everybody may know or the other.
Well, again, I just want to be fair to the issues as they are. This is not the first time in our international airport who have gone to our international airport, either see the VIP, the VVIP, or any other channel with substances that they were not supposed to carry on them, and they get to the other end of it and they are arrested.
All right.
Like I said, sometimes we are told when the issue first happened, NACO came up and said that, well, they've been monitoring the lady for some time now. They claim that there's a collaboration between them and the UK authorities. The embassy came and issued a letter. In that particular letter, they didn't issue any direct disclaimer that there was no collaboration. But people, for convenience reasons, decided to conclude that there was no collaboration between the Ghana NACOP and their UK counterparts. Sometimes you know that people are engaged in some of these activities. You want to be sure where exactly they operate from, who are the other accomplices out there, and so you allow them to go to, you monitor, you follow them, and you arrest them. I've heard a NACOP chief executive saying, for instance, that they know about the activity of this woman, and they've been monitoring her for some time now. So as to if they themselves permitted her to go through so she could be arrested, they want to know the other people that she's dealing with, it's something I cannot speak to now. But what is important is that, yes, this woman was arrested at Heathrow. We have come back to Ghana. We have checked all the men and women who were supposed to be on duty post the day she took off from Ghana, and some of those people have been arrested. We are told even the NACO board has been dissolved in connection with this particular issue. I am not too sure the information that is available to the president for which he took that particular action, but it tells you clearly that this is a government that is willing, that is prepared to fight the narcotic drug issue and trafficking. This sense, you cannot stop people from doing what they want to do. The only thing you can do is to put mechanisms in place to make it impossible for them to do it or to do it freely. And I think that that's exactly what the government is doing.
Job to communicate well adequately as far as PR is concerned about government. But do you think that perhaps somebody is being shielded here, not necessarily a high government official, but, well, somebody that could give bad publicity to government in this very subject?
Well, if you say somebody is being shielded, I don't know exactly what you mean. To the extent that 9 people have been arrested in connection with this particular issue.
Well, these 9 people were arrested in the UK, we're told.
Come again, please.
These 9 people, they were arrested in the UK, not in Ghana, right?
Yes. Hello?
These 9 people were arrested in the UK, not in Ghana. Well, we seem to have lost Fred Agbenyo on the line. But what do you find about his responses?
Well, his response, I find it most unfortunate. You see, that is a problem with some of these government communicators.
Is
he
it
mentioned
unfortunate or
about
intriguing?
3 times that this is not the first time. I mean, what an irresponsible statement to make at this time. That this is not the first time that people have carried substances through.
So you think that it makes it normal?
No. You see, you don't even say, I mean, look, one crime, and a terrible crime that has indicted all of us like this, you don't come out saying that this is not the first time, as if to say it is something that is to be expected. What makes this thing more serious is the fact that one of the most secured areas of the airport, where our most important people pass through, that has supposed to have the highest security, is where she passed to go through. That is what even makes this thing worse. If this person had been an ordinary passenger going through the normal procedures and managed to slip through, that is bad enough. But this person went through privileged access, where I mean, the security there is 3 times the normal security. That is what is worse. So you don't come out here by this time and start telling all of us that, oh, this is not the first time this has happened, this is not the first time. As if to say this is a normal practice in our country. If some criminals have done some action, we should identify those criminals and deal with them. But you don't come out and make such comments. I think it is just, you know, regrettable that we hear that type of comments from
We'll continue the discussions, but in the meantime, we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more for you.
Well, it's 48 minutes after 7. You're still here on the AM Talk on the AM show. Just a quick changes here on the show, and I can't even seem to find myself. But my colleague Roland has has to exit, and so I am here in his seat, and we're still on the AM Talk here on the AM show. And my guest in studio is Mr. Philip London. He's a development economist, also a member of the NPP. Joining us via phone is Fred Agbenyo, who is a member of the NDC, also vying for the deputy propaganda position in the party. I think we'll still be on that cocaine conversation. After all, the newspapers are full of cocaine today, so our whole country is on cocaine. But I'm also interested in what the minority, because what we do know is that later on today there is a press conference. They say they have some big revelations to make. You're a member of the party. Yes. What are you telling the whole country and the whole world really later today?
Well, the minority caucus in Parliament will be having a press conference. They have the information, I don't.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So we don't know what they would say. Is it still on drafts, right?
It's on this particular saga. Mm-hmm. It's information to do with it. They are coming out with more information that hasn't come out yet into the public.
Is this something that government is not telling us? That's why the minority feels it is important for them to. Because yesterday the Foreign Affairs Minister spoke, I think extensively, quiet.
Yes. The Foreign Affairs Minister spoke. Some of the things she said, I think she shouldn't have said them. But she has spoken.
Like what? What do you think she
about making reference to what the lady said on her interrogation and things like that. Those are not things.
It wasn't important?
It wasn't. I don't think those were things for the Foreign Minister to have said. You see, because the moment the Foreign Minister, and the kind of backlash she's getting, is because she said it. It had been somebody else. It would have just been information.
Yeah, but she's saying that, you know, she's not saying it as a cover-up. It doesn't mean that she believes in it, but she's just telling us what the woman said.
You see, I agree entirely that she is telling us. This is not what the Foreign Minister said. She's telling us what the lady said. Mm-hmm. But what the lady said, exactly what she said, was not for the Foreign Minister to have come to tell us.
But for who?
There are other people who could do that. You see, her position carries a certain. I don't have to explain this. It's not everything that everybody should say. There are things that I can say and get away with, things other people could say and get away with, or people could say and could be acceptable. But when certain people make that is why there are spokespersons for people, there are attachés for people, or positions, etc. You know, it's not everything that has to come from a particular source. Yeah, let the police have come out with that information, or national security or something, not the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I don't know if you're still with us, Fred, and I don't know what you would have to say on this one. Perhaps you've been sniffing around. You know what the minority, the big news that they have for the whole nation.
Please, can you ask the question again? The minority has what?
There's a press conference scheduled for today to be addressed by the minority in Parliament. They say they've got more news for us on this whole cocaine narcotics saga. And I'm asking, what have you been sniffing? Do you know what they will be telling us?
I must tell you, I'm very surprised about the conduct and the behavior of the minority side of Parliament. I think that over the period, the minority side, especially the leadership, have conducted themselves very, very critically. But what they did yesterday, especially about this cocaine issue, I'm still shocked and surprised. I've been wondering if it was because the Nakubado chief of staff, Gajo Sidaku, has shouted on them, hey, this has worked. That is why suddenly...
You mentioned Nana Akufo's chief of staff. Who is that?
Nakubado chief of staff, unlikely chief of staff, Gajo Sidaku. You know, he used to a statement like he was on radio blasting them for how they are sleeping on their work, they are not doing anything. I sincerely want to believe That is what has woken them up, and they have decided to jump on this issue the way they are going about it. To the extent that when they were supposed to be debating the budget yesterday, then you have a leadership among the minority who yesterday went to parliament with some bags of rice, raising and shouting with it. Actually, for nothing at all, persons from the NPP stock, especially those shouldn't have any moral right to be talking about cocaine in this country.
That is a very stupid and irresponsible statement.
Cocaine, we know the history. You understand? We know the history that for the first time in our life, for the first time in the life of any parliament anywhere in the world, a sitting member of parliament was arrested in America in connection with this.
Wait, Fred, Fred, hang on. There's a quick reaction really to what you're saying. Philip doesn't seem to understand with anything that you're saying right now.
You know,
what is it? Because you're saying a couple of things.
What I'm saying, debate the budget. You let the budget aside. You brought bags of rice into Parliament House, and that is what you are thinking about. Meanwhile, the secretary are working on this particular issue. But Parliament should be debating about this time.
Hang on, Fred. Fred, are you saying that they don't have the right to raise the issue if the security apparatus are investigating?
Not MPP. Let them other talk about cocaine. Not MPP. Not minority in Parliament. They don't have that moral right.
What do you mean? When you say they don't have that moral right, what exactly do you mean?
Can I respond as a member?
This country for the battle when they were not for 8 years. We all saw the role the MPP played as far as cocaine issues are concerned. We all saw, apart from the member of parliament was arrested, the MPP Benjamin cocaine issue, we know the role they played. When they got all the signal that the ship from the peace coming, please get there and arrest it. What happened to it?
Just hang on there because Philip wants to give a quick response.
You know, I find the comments that Fred Agbano is making very, very irresponsible and regrettable. Very irresponsible and regrettable. That a government communicator should be talking like this. The current call on this matter is, let us not politicize it. Let us deal with it. I have refrained deliberately that this thing should not be politicized. It is a matter of fact that when MPP was in power, some criminal acts did take place involving cocaine. There is no government in our history that hasn't had this problem. Whether it's NDC-1, PNDC, whatever. They've always had these problems. Because it is a human activity and it is crime. Crime will always be committed. And that is why we have security agencies whose job it is to work and fight against crime. Now, if somebody committed a crime and that person happened to be a member of parliament, it was not his party that committed the crime. He was an individual in a party. Crimes are being committed every day. And there are people under various political parties. Doesn't mean it's a party. So for somebody like him to talk like that is very irresponsible. And we should not encourage that type of conversation. This is something that has indicted all of us. Whatever your party or whoever you support, it has indicted all of us. And that is the issue we're discussing. We are discussing how an individual, irrespective of which government was in power, who was in party or whatever, could go through areas of privileged access and go and commit such a crime. This is a major indictment on our country. So if he is talking about it, it is reckless and irresponsible on his part to say that a political party doesn't have a moral right. I think I condemn that statement, and we should not allow such statements to be made.
Okay, so let's move on. If you do know...
No, but let me just make a very quick intervention. I am very sure Mr. Landon didn't have the opportunity yesterday to listen to what the minority did in Parliament. If he listened to them, he wouldn't have thought the...
No, but Fred, I listen to the deputy minority leader. If you're talking about the rice conversation that he was sort of having in Parliament, or what he raised in Parliament, it wasn't party politics. He never mentioned NDC.
No, but even then,
if I can... I'm sure he didn't listen to the entire episode. What took place yesterday in Parliament, when the Speaker of Parliament has even vacated his seat and called the leadership into order.
Yeah, but I thought that was because that was not the subject they were discussing. He brought in something.
They were supposed to debate the budget. The point I'm making now, I'll make this point any day anywhere. Fortunately, yes, I know Mr. Landon will disagree with me. He can choose to discuss whichever we want to discuss it.
Okay, so let's Fred, let's take the discussion forward. I think what I was asking really was whether or not you know what the minority will be saying today, because they've got a lot more news on this. There's something that government is not telling us.
Well, I think that the best thing to be asking this is who instructs them as to what they do and they follow suit. He should know what they'll be reading today. He knows. He's in London.
I don't get it. Are you saying that the minority members in parliament are doing what Gabi Ochedaku is saying? What are you saying? I don't get it.
You know, I'm not the one saying it. Gabi,
no, but I haven't heard Gabi say anything like that. You're making a strange allegation on the show.
Gabi said that people are sleeping, therefore are not doing their work in parliament. So for them to prove to Gabi and Anando that they are doing their work, that is what they are doing. So whatever they have that they want to put out to organize to know, why not? They are interested. Again, if there's a position that really wants to be responsible and a position that doesn't want to politicize this issue, whatever information that's available to them, one of them is thought that they will go to the security agencies whose mandate and duty is to fight some of these things and give the information to them. If it's not for partisan politics, what is the point in saying that they are coming to organize a press conference today to put information that they claim they have? When the issue is still under investigation, if there's no information, why are they not contacting the security services?
Okay.
And that is why I disagree with Mr. Landy when he says that it is people like me who is politicizing the issue. I think that the conduct of the minority on this particular issue is so appalling, and if there's anybody who will behave very responsibly, it is that we have to be looking at.
Okay, so Philip, essentially, I think you get it. If you've got any extra information apart from what we know,
but before then, you know, in responding, the second part of it was what he just mentioned, which I was going to respond to. I spoke when Roland was here. I said that what the Honourable Dominic Nitiwul did yesterday, I would have wished he hadn't done it the way he did. At the end of the day, that whole process, I think, didn't help our parliament and didn't help the image of our country. That is my position. But what happened? He said and did things. The Honourable Aban Babin said and did things. The Honourable Chairman Sabosu said and did things. All these three honourable gentlemen did things that they should actually shouldn't have done. But at the end of the day, what happened? They all apologized to the Speaker, and we moved on from there. They apologized. So it's not like they did something and are still standing by it. They did something, the Speaker brought them to order, they came back and said, Mr. Speaker, we apologize, we did the wrong thing. And everybody gave explanation for why he thought he had done the wrong thing. Now, talking about hearsay, that he thinks Gabi Ochedaku, you know what? If you disagree with somebody, disagree with them, but don't insult them. If he has a disagreement with certain things that some members of parliament has done, he should state his case. But you cannot go by hearsay. No. But you can't go by hearsay and say that Gabi is hearsay, that Gabi is instructing them because Gabi made a certain statement. Who hasn't made a certain statement at some point in time or the other? Does that mean because a certain statement was made some time ago means that somebody is giving somebody instructions today? So I think when we are talking and when people like him are talking, he should, you know, the minority, as I was saying earlier, they are going to have their press conference. I don't know what they're going to say.
I get it, but has there been some sort of backlash in the sense that the minority in parliament, they've been sleeping, they haven't been active? Well, have you had issues with your members of parliament?
Philip Longer, haven't had issues with my members of parliament. My own member of parliament is Patrick Wam. I don't have any issues. I'm happy with the way he's going about things. One individual, Gabi, raised an issue about certain things he thought the members of parliament were not doing. That was his opinion, and he's entitled to it. So if he has made an opinion, so many members of the party exist. People have their own opinions. So if one person has raised an issue, does that mean that it makes it the party's position? Has he seen all the members of parliament jumping up and saying that Gabi has said we should jump, so we are jumping? When Frederick Bonyo is talking, he should not talk about such hearsay and talk about concrete issues. If the members of minority caucus is come to with a press conference, I don't know what they have to say. If there are any things that
why do you leave the rubber on the floor?
Okay, so I think that we will have to kill that line on Fred Agmanyo and then continue a conversation in